In the center of this zone is a sacred icon critical to the great journey. I must find it.
We shall cut into the heart of this infestation, retrieve the icon, and burn any flood that stand in our way. The parasite is not to be trifled with. I hope you know what you're doing.
Forward, warriors, and fear not pain or death. Go, Arbiter. I'll follow when our reinforcements arrive.
Sup guys, Hokey Bird here, bringing you the Noob's Guide to Legendary for the 9th mission in the Halo 2 campaign, Quarantine Zone.
Reinforcements! To the vehicles! They're heading out! Onward to the sacred icon!
So the very first thing you want to do when you start the mission is turn around. There's going to be an elite standing behind you with a beam rifle. You're gonna need that beam rifle for later. Now usually, I'm all for giving your allies the heavy weapons, but in this case, you need that beam rifle. So the friendly AI here is programmed a little weirdly. 2 of them are gonna get in Ghosts, and then 2 of them are gonna get in your Spectre. The problem is, you want 3 of them in your Spectre. So what you need to do is get one of them out of the Ghost, and then get back in your Spectre, and he seems to get the idea that you want him riding on your Spectre.
Spill their blood. Parasite controls our vehicles. No matter, we will die all the same.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flood have learned how to drive. Now, you might run into a flood-controlled ghost or 2 for this beginning section, but they're not really the main threat. The main threat is the Enforcers. But they're only really a threat if those 2 large arms of theirs are still intact, because with those arms, they can pick up and destroy vehicles instantly, including yours. But what often happens is your elite allies will shoot off those arms, and then the Enforcers are helpless. They can only really lob mortars at you, and they'll usually miss as long as you keep moving. So, when the Enforcer has those 2 large arms intact, keep your distance, but when they get shot off, you can allow it to get a little closer. The Sentinel Majors in the area won't be much of a problem. Your elite allies will shoot them down very quickly with that plasma turret on the Spectre as well as the 2 carbines. And then fighting the flood-controlled ghosts is pretty simple. Just don't let them get behind you or else they'll kill you very quickly. You can even try to give your elite allies a shot at that giant fuel tank on the left side of the ghost, and if they manage to hit that, they'll kill the ghost instantly, even if the combat form driving it survives.
Very good. Hold fast. Commander, we found a human vehicle.
Keep moving. I'm on my way.
There's a Warthog there, but I highly recommend the Spectre over the Warthog just because it can hold 2 passengers and a gunner. There is, however, a rocket launcher, and I highly recommend you pick that up. It doesn't really matter what weapon you swap out for it, just remember to go back for that weapon when you're finished. Now, another note about that rocket launcher is that you need to be careful picking it up, because a lot of times as soon as you park your Spectre there and hop out to grab it, ghosts will attack and they'll either kill you or your Spectre, neither of which is a desirable outcome. So sometimes you have to wait until the area is clear, and sometimes that means you have to completely clear out the area of all ghosts before you can grab that rocket launcher. Now normally there's going to be a flood-controlled Scorpion in the back right there, but in this case, one of the Enforcers killed the combat form driving it. It's about a 50-50 chance whether the Enforcer's going to destroy it or whether the combat form's going to shoot down the Enforcer. So, in this case, the Enforcer destroyed it and I don't have to worry about it. If the Enforcer doesn't destroy it, you need to keep your distance until you can arm one of your allies with the rocket launcher you just picked up. Now then, if you don't have the Scorpion to worry about, you can fight these ghosts that are going to attack from this ramp by just taking up a position at the top of the ramp. The easiest way to kill these ghosts is by knocking them off the edge, and this is hilariously fun to do if you can pull it off. That's my favorite way to kill ghosts. Now, if you do have to worry about the scorpion, this is not a safe place to be because the scorpion will blast you to oblivion. If you do need to worry about the scorpion, you need to stay up on that flat section more towards the back, and then the ghosts will come to you. You also need to watch out for the wraith, but as long as you either keep moving or stay away from that left side of the central platform, you'll be fine. Before you move down that ramp and approach the exit doorway, you need to make sure you arm one of your allies with the rocket launcher you picked up. Now this is kind of annoying because when you get him out of the Spectre, he'll either immediately head for the driver's seat and steal it from you, or he'll just stand there for about 7 seconds before he'll get back in. Now with one of your allies armed with a rocket launcher, the rest of this is trivial. There's a warthog here that would normally kill you very quickly, but it is no match for a rocket launcher.
I'm at work. Human heavy assault vehicle.
The last thing you need to do is kill the wraith by just driving over to the edge like this and strafing back and forth so that the mortars don't hit you. And eventually, that guy with the rocket launcher will lock on and 2 rockets will take down the wraith. Once everything's taken out, remember to go back for whatever weapon you swapped out when you grabbed the rocket launcher. In my case, it's the energy sword. So now I have an energy sword and a beam rifle. I really don't care what weapons you've got, as long as one of them is a beam rifle. It is absolutely mandatory for one of the upcoming sections. This next section is very easy actually because you have the elite with the rocket launcher. Just hang back as you enter the area, watch the pelican go by, and the combat forms will jump down in front of you. There's also going to be a couple enforcers in the area, but the elite with the rocket launcher will take them down very quickly. Once you move up here, just destroy the rest of the enforcers in the area using that elite with a rocket launcher riding on the side of your Spectre. He'll take them down very quickly. There's going to be like either 3 or 4 more. you've destroyed all the enforcers, move down here, look up, watch the combat forms jump down, and then immediately retreat backwards so that they're all in front of you. A couple are going to jump down in front of you, but a couple are going to jump down behind you, and you don't want to get yourself surrounded.
Further proof of my prowess? Well done.
This is the part that you absolutely must have a beam rifle for unless you're gonna skip it. You're going to be facing combat forms with rocket launchers. If you thought they were a nightmare in Halo 1, wait till you see them in Halo 2. Not only do the rockets fly much faster than they did in Halo 1, but they have homing against vehicles, so you cannot fight combat forms with rocket launchers in a vehicle. You need to get out and snipe them. And this is how you do that. Park the Spectre here, activate your active camo, and snipe him using your beam rifle. With that taken care of, get back in your Spectre, and then head across this bridge. When you reach the bottom of this ramp, you're going to hear 2 ghosts spawn, but what you're not going to hear spawn is the combat form with the rocket launcher. So first wait at the top of this ramp and take out the 2 ghosts, and then come back here where you're out of his range and snipe the guy with the rocket launcher on top of the hill. And just like almost every other enemy in the game, except for drones, you will do absolutely no damage to the combat form unless you hit its head. I'll show the picture of where the head of a human combat form is again. It's right there on the right collarbone. If you don't hit the head, you will do absolutely no damage to the combat form. Once you finish mopping up the rest of the combat forms in the area, hop out and grab the rocket launcher here. This is from the combat form that I just sniped. And of course, if you know me, you know that you don't keep it for yourself. You give it to one of your allies, because they have infinite ammo with it.
You're not to a weapon like this.
Okay, so, dual rocket launchers acquired. Head up here, and watch the combat forms spawn on the left there. When you see them, immediately retreat all the way back here. Because once again, one of those combat forms is going to have a rocket launcher, and he can one-shot your ass if you let him. The most reliable strategy I found was to use this wall for cover, and then have your elites with rocket launchers take out all the combat forms from over here. If you see a rocket heading your way, just duck behind this wall and it should miss. With the combat forms taken out over there, the rest of this is very easy. Just mop up the rest of the vehicles in the area.
Prepare yourself. Careful now.
This is a little dangerous, but it needs to be done. Hop out and temporarily swap out your beam rifle for a plasma rifle. And then, of course, take out the rest of the ghosts. When you get the checkpoint up here, you're going to cross an invisible line that causes a bunch of ghosts to come out of that tunnel, as well as a couple sentinels to spawn, as well as an enforcer from that pit down there. This should all be trivial with 2 elites with rocket launchers on your Spectre. And this is really the only disadvantage of having the 2 rocket launchers on your Spectre. is that they're really no good at shooting down sentinels. You need to get close and let the guy on the plasma turret do that.
Enemy ghosts!
Now then, with the area clear, I'm going back to the place where I swapped out my beam rifle. What I'm going to do is give that beam rifle back to the elite that's on the plasma turret, because I'm finished with it. I only needed it for the combat forms with rocket launchers. And no matter how you do your weapon swaps here, the end result needs to be you with a sword and plasma rifle, and him with the beam rifle.
Something. Let me shoot it.
If you don't know what you're doing here, this next part can be kind of tricky, because there's a tank right there. But what you want to do is just hide here for a few seconds, and the tank will look up at the enforcer in the next area, and then you can blow the crap out of it with the 2 elites with rocket launchers. Then just mop up the rest of the enforcers and sentinels. This is nothing you haven't done before. I got kinda lucky here. Usually if the Spectre gets flipped over, either you're gonna die or one of the elites are gonna die. But we were able to flip it back over and just continue like nothing happened. At this point, you're going to have to continue on foot, so hop out of the Spectre and get all of the elites out of the Spectre and make sure they're following you. Sometimes this is easier said than done, because you need to go ahead of them such that they know where to go, but if you get too far ahead of them, they won't know where you went and they'll just stand there like this guy did. However you manage it, just make sure that all 3 elites are with you and that 2 of them have rocket launchers and 1 has a beam rifle. And this is why I told you to pick up a plasma rifle earlier. There's only 1 plasma rifle here, and I prefer to have dual plasma rifles to shoot down all these sentinels.
It is well hidden.
With the sentinels down, you can focus on the enforcer. All I'm really doing is just getting its attention so that it'll come over to me, and then my elites can shoot the crap out of it with their rocket launchers. Now here is what I consider to be the trickiest part of the mission. You have to move up in order to get the next wave of enemies to spawn. but doing that puts you and your team in a really bad position, and you're really likely to get overwhelmed. So what I do is I try to take out as many combat forms and sentinels from up here as possible before moving up.
Hold fast. Give up. Fight the inevitable no longer.
When it's time to move up, what I'll do is I'll move up this ramp here until I get a checkpoint, which will cause the next wave of enemies to spawn. And then I'll immediately retreat to the back of the room so that my allies don't move up too far. And then after I make sure that my allies are coming with me, I'll move up this ramp and start blasting sentinels with my dual plasma rifles. Now, if you're doing this properly, there shouldn't be any combat forms left. You should be fighting nothing but sentinel majors. But god damn it, there are a lot of them. I counted at least 8. And so with the dual plasma rifles, it's easy enough for you to survive this fight, but not so much to get your allies through here. And so that's what's going to take you a couple tries. If you want, you can try taking their rocket launchers from them, because the rocket launchers aren't great against sentinels, and you can try arming them with like carbines, plasma rifles, or sentinel beams, which are better against sentinels. But I found that that was almost more difficult than just leaving them with their rocket launchers and trying to blast all the sentinels yourself. Grab the carbine here to replace your dual plasma rifles. You don't really need them anymore. And then in this area where you almost get squashed by a dead enforcer, just hang back and let the other enforcer fight the combat forms. And as you can see, my team has taken a casualty from the last area. We only have 2 elites left. But this isn't a big deal. You only really need 1 elite for the final area, and I just like to keep as many with me for the extra firepower. Anyway, once the flood obliterate that enforcer, they'll move up and then you can move in behind them. Obviously the combat form with the rocket launcher takes top priority, but then you can just take out the rest with your energy sword.
Hold fast. Death is upon you. The prophet will be done.
Now, what I did here might not have been the best possible option. I left him with his rocket launcher and picked one up myself, but now we've got almost no firepower against sentinels, just that one guy with a beam rifle. It turned out that it wasn't much of a problem, but a smarter option might have been to arm him with a carbine. Whatever you do, just look over here. When you get the checkpoint, look up. A bunch of combat forms are going to jump down from that wall. Blast them where they land. Any that you miss, you can take out with your energy sword. Once you take out all those combat forms, there's going to be another group over here in the tunnel. Activate your active camo, and then use your rocket launcher and grenades. Use anything other than the sword, because there's going to be combat forms with rocket launchers, and then there's going to be one with a shotgun. And you cannot go up against a shotgun with a sword.
Any more?
Once they're all taken out, head into the tunnel and head to the next area. Be sure to grab some rocket launcher ammo on your way. This next room is pretty simple. One of the combat forms is going to have a shotgun, so you might die from that 1 or 2 times, but for the most part you can clear this entire room with the sword.
Wretched creature!
Once again, this part is pretty simple. There's going to be a couple combat forms up here, but for the most part you can clear them out with the sword. The elite with the beam rifle will shoot down all the sentinel majors. Now this is one of the more annoying sections of the mission, not because it's difficult, but because it's almost unfair. The Flood can slap around these boxes and crates like they weigh almost nothing, but you can't do shit to them. And sometimes they'll get in the way and block the path, and then your elites can't move up with you, and that's a problem. So when that happens, you need to try to use your sword and a lot of melee attacks to attempt to clear the path. You'll see I had a lot of trouble trying to get that guy with the beam rifle to move up with me. When you do move up, stay on top of this ledge for as long as you can and fight the combat forms from up here, and then when you're ready to move up, priority 1 is the Wraith. If it fires at you, you need to run towards it so that you jump off this cliff. Use your active camo if you need to. Then with the Wraith taken out, now you can clear out the ghosts. You should have enough rocket launcher ammo that you can take care of them all yourself. And now I'm going back because I noticed that I only have 1 elite with me, and one of them is stuck. So just use a frag grenade to grenade jump up here, and see how he's stuck back here? Just pull out the sword and start hitting boxes until he moves up with you. Here he comes. So, the end result is you with a sword and a rocket launcher, accompanied by 2 elites with rocket launchers. I don't really care how you do it, but that's what needs to happen. In this area, you're going to meet up with the Spec Ops commander, and you're going to get another Spectre. But the problem is, sometimes that Wraith up there will destroy your Spectre as it lands, so I just like to fire a rocket just to make sure that the Enforcer destroys it. And then occasionally I'll just fire a rocket at the Warthog as well. That'll kill you very quickly. And then I'll just move across this bridge and meet up with the Spec Ops commander. The only problem you're going to have here is if one of those elites with rocket launchers gets in either a ghost or some other vehicle. So, what you need to do here is first get the Spec Ops commander out of the Spectre and give him your sword. He's always going to jump on that turret. Just get him out and give him your sword. Then take control of the Spectre. Then arrange your seating so that you have the Spec Ops commander in the back on the turret, and then the 2 elites with the rocket launchers riding on the sides. When you want them to change seats, just get them out of their seat and then get back in the Spectre, and they'll switch seats. Sometimes this is easier said than done, especially when there are Wraiths and Enforcers in the area firing at you. Anyway, so now I've got the Spec Ops commander on the turret. Now I just need the other guy with the rocket launcher. He's hopped in the Wraith, so I need to get him out of there. And then, like I said, when you want them to switch seats, just get the one guy out of the Spectre, then hop back in the driver's seat, and they'll switch seats. So, once again, I don't care how you do it, but the end result needs to be 2 elites with rocket launchers riding on the side seats, and the Spec Ops commander on the turret. And then you can pretty easily clear the area, same as you did when you had the Spectre with 2 rocket launchers before. For this last area, look over to the left and you're going to see a flood-controlled Scorpion over there. Just hang back and let the Enforcers take care of it. They'll kill it every time. Once it's taken out, then you can clear out the area same as before. Now, the combat forms controlling the ghosts are going to either have rocket launchers or swords when you kill them. And remember, you got rid of your sword and gave it to the Spec Ops commander, so make sure you grab another one whenever you can.
Onward, elites!
Also stop to pick up rocket launcher ammo whenever you see them lying around, because your rocket launcher is either going to be completely empty or running very low. Make sure you have a full rocket launcher with 6 shots and 2 in the chamber when you leave the area. You're going to want that for the Gondola.
On your knees!
Now, there's a really nasty glitch for this part. You can move up and there's going to be a bunch of combat forms there, then a bunch of combat forms are going to spawn from those doors over there on the wall, while there's going to be a couple with rocket launchers and sniper rifles. That's not the issue. The issue is that you can see my team has stopped firing at them. Like, they don't even recognize they're there. So your only option when that happens is to just get them out of the Spectre, and then they'll just run for the door, and then they'll only start fighting again once they get there, if they get there. Now obviously the Spec Ops commander is going to get there because he's invincible, but the other 2 with rocket launchers might not make it. And this is why you gave the Spec Ops commander your sword, because ordinarily he would have a plasma rifle, which isn't great against combat forms. So, annoyance aside, hop up here and take out any of the combat forms on the turrets. If the elite with the rocket launcher survives, he might take them out for you. And then with the Spec Ops commander with the sword, he'll take out all the combat forms that would be down here.
Well done.
And then when the area is clear, you can head through the door.
More humans. They must be after the icon.
On your way, Arbiter. I'll deal with these beasts.
I see that coward didn't join you. I'll do what I can to keep the flood off your back. We cannot let the humans capture the icon. The higher-ups do not look kindly on failure. I grow restless without a target. Look, up ahead. The parasite gathers for an attack.
Okay, to start off this gondola section, run over to the left side of the gondola, where the flood are going to drop down, and take out any that make it onto the gondola with the sword. This doesn't always happen, but it was kind of funny. None of them dropped down in the right place, and they all missed.
I'll thin their ranks. What, Courtyard? Nice and safe you can track them. Ignore the flag. Let your friends.
Okay, after the initial wave of combat forms, there's going to be a second larger wave that spawns down here. Take them all out with your sword, and try to be aggressive enough that you can keep them away from the rest of your team until you can arm your allies with swords.
Hey, fool! He'll alert them to our presence.
Over on the right side. Maybe they'll shoot him down.
Now, after that wave's taken out, there should be plenty of swords lying on the ground to arm at least most of your allies with swords, if not all of them. Try to keep one for yourself, but if there aren't enough, you do have the rocket launcher. Then come back down here again, where you'll see another wave of flood has spawned, and grab the swords. Okay, now that your entire team has swords, they should be able to handle themselves quite nicely. As for what you need to do, you need to stay down here on this lower level by this hole, because if you move away from it to the point where you can't see it, endless waves of combat forms will spawn down there, and a lot of them will have shotguns. So stay down here to prevent them from spawning. When they do spawn, just take them out with either the sword or the rocket launcher. And this is what you don't want to see. That's a combat form with a shotgun. I got very lucky that I was able to take him out without using my active camo to sneak up on him. If you do encounter a combat form with a shotgun like this, either let your allies deal with him, or use your active camo.
Behold, the library of our lords! The humans are already inside, Arbiter. After them! Ambush the perimeter!
When Tartarus says that, that means you're almost done. You just have to hold out for a little longer. Which really shouldn't be difficult to do if all of your allies have swords. And at this point, you are done. You have made it. Congratulations. And an extra special kudos for every elite that you still have alive. In my case, I've got all 4.
Hurry, Arbiter! Get the icon!
Head down the hallway and into the index chamber to end the mission.
Gotcha.
You know, your father never asked me for help either.
The index is secure.
Mackenzie, Perez, how's our exit? You hear me, Marines? We got trouble. Damn! How you doing?
Sergeant, stay down! Johnson, you all right? Johnson!
Excellent work, Arbiter. The Hierarchs will be pleased.
The icon is my responsibility.
Was your responsibility. Now it is mine. A bloody fate awaits you and the rest of your incompetent race. And I, Tartarus, chieftain of the brutes, will send you to it.
When the prophets learn of this, they will take your head.
When they learn. Fool. They ordered me to do it.